CM Punk in the main event of WrestleMania. Finally, welcome to the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Mike Cefaletto, joined by Mr. Sean O'Neill and Mr. T. Reese. And we are here today to talk to you guys about SmackDown and about CM Punk finally getting his WrestleMania main event. Guys, what did you think of that main event sequence with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins?
Well, that answered all our questions, isn't it? That was the question we had last week. Was they going to be the main event? They right off the button. So I mean, that's a perfect main event. They just didn't say if it was night one or two, though, right?
You gotta assume
They
it's
said
night
to
one.
close. His exact words were to close WrestleMania, so it
Oh,
could honestly be night two.
yep.
Yeah.
More than likely,
Um,
that would be night two.
I think that obviously the first major story is that yes, it's Punk finally in his main event, but I think the even bigger thing is when he said that that's not the favor.
Oh,
I don't know.
right.
I
He said
think,
that's not the favor. Gave him almost like a little wink at the end.
and then
So,
it cut to black, which, mind you, I hate that kind of ending. The Sopranos
mm,
ending where it just cuts to black.
yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's almost the bigger story is what is the favor still?
Well, see, the weird thing too is like it kind of alludes to is Punk going to win this?
Yeah.
Has to,
You want
right?
to put that little ominous, message there. You know, if he's not going to pull this one out. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see Seth Rollins win.
Say Sam.
Yeah, his the way he was behaving was like fantastic. He was like really overhamming it up a little bit. I really enjoyed that.
Put the mic in Heyman's mouth.
Yeah. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. And I did I didn't love Roman Reigns though in this segment. I mean, like I didn't like that he was just kind of like, sort of whatever about the whole thing. Like almost like he just didn't give a shit about it. He's just kind of like, yeah, I'm here. I'm Roman Reigns. I'm king shit. And like, we're just gonna do this, I guess, right? I'm I don't really see what Roman Reigns, the character, is really getting out of this, I guess. Like CM Punk means nothing to him. Yeah, he has that hatred for Seth Rollins for their history, I guess, like that. But this, like, as far as Roman Reigns the character, I guess I need to see more from like his interactions with Paul Heyman, and maybe to one of your guys' point last week about how we think Heyman's gonna either end up with Punk or Brock Lesnar or whatever, right? Like, there's got to be a little bit more to making this like important for Roman Reigns.
So I think they said I think it was last week where Roman gave his motivations, where he said that Punk cost him the Rumble, but Rollins tried to kill him after the Rumble. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Roman's motivations are just incredibly selfish. That he just literally wants payback for being cost his opportunity to be in what his ninth main event of WrestleMania,
Mhm.
and still he ends up in the main event of WrestleMania, even when he doesn't win the Rumble. So it sort of undercuts that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it. I don't know if I have to push back on that. I think he's. They're almost like tapping into what he was a year ago, sitting back, real cocky, making Paul Heyman speak and do things for him. I, I, I think that was the angle, and that could be the favor is that Heyman does something to cost Roman the match just
I was
because of the
thinking
way
that.
he's being. But I mean, again, I like to see Seth Rollins win this one. I think he's due for something new. I do like the fact they are lining up other storylines to attach on to this.
Yeah, Rollins is due for a win. I mean, he's taken so many losses lately. Even though he generally looks good in a loss,
Mhm.
dude needs a win here or there. Otherwise, it's going to fade into the realm of just people who are used to put people over.
Mm.
And I don't know, like you said, the favor very well could be something that costs Roman the match. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
Colt Cabana coming out.
I'd fall off my chair if he came running out of the crowd and hits him over the head with a chair.
That's too funny.
Throws a doctor's note at him.
That's too funny. That's too funny. Um, So, I mean, I guess overall, I guess it was a fine segment, and it's working its way towards like making me care about it a little bit more. But I think, like I said, I think we need a little bit more from just all of the characters involved. Seth, out of all of them, is doing the best work here, I think. Like, I mean, he like the emotion that he's putting behind his promos and the hatred that he has for Punk. That's really helping to like carry this a lot. I know they've had their two matches now, but like we definitely it definitely, needs that fire, I think.
I think that Punk's emotion at being told it was the main event really sold a lot of it.
Mhm.
Um, but you're right. Rollins's hatred for Punk shining through is carrying a lot of this. I think my only disappointment with this particular segment was that it didn't end in a brawl or some sort of fisticuffs like most contract signings do. Because I
Mhm.
mean, what the hell's the point of a contract signing if someone doesn't get put through a table?
Right.
No, I was fine with it. It was a change of pace. I mean, you didn't. I'm glad they didn't brawl. I mean, they just kind of just to do this contract, and he let the words and the actions of each other actually speak for that signing. I was fine with it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, it looks like that's going to be one of our main events. So we don't, currently know which night it's going to be. But then I think, going from one main event to the next main event, right? We've got Cody Rhodes opening the show and not much of a promo to sort of get started, but then, shortly after that, Randy Orton comes out and Randy Orton and Cody really giving themselves kind of like the love fest there. A little bit too much for my tastes. Um, which, the purpose of this, I guess, leading for Randy Orton to have a match with Drew McIntyre, who quickly came out and, talked a little bit of shit, with his Timu Undertaker hits on Damian Priest, which I kind of really enjoyed there. But it was interesting, I guess, to like make you think that maybe Cody's going to win after all, because you kind of set up some programs there where Randy was very clearly like, yeah, I'm coming for that belt. And Drew was very clearly, hey, I'm coming for that belt when you're done with Cena. So do I still think John Cena is going to win? Probably, but this definitely kind of puts a little bit of disbelief in there to think that, well, they're setting up some feuds for Cody after the fact. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just lining up the next storyline for Randy and for Drew. That's going to after Mania. Those will be the two going after each other.
I I can see that. I mean, like Mike said, I like that this makes it a little bit harder to guess who's going to win. But even if Cena wins, I feel like this promo still sort of established both Drew and um, Orton as potential number one challengers because both of them could very well step in, especially if Cody takes time off after losing. Um, the only thing I didn't like is, you know, Damian Priest has the exact same complaint that McIntyre has. I feel like he could have been involved in it too to give us an additional potential challenger. Because if you look at that storyline, the two of them could literally be interchanged. They both can blame each other for not being in the Mania event. So I guess why wasn't he involved too, even a little bit? But I think I agree with both of you as far as how this whole segment could go down. I would like to see Cena involved in something on SmackDown, like have Cena be out there when Cody's there, and then have these two guys come out. Feel like that would have been a little more impactful. But who knows how many more times we're even going to see Cena? So,
Yeah. I don't think
so
Damian Priest is going to do that though, right? Because Damian Priest is a babyface,
so is Orton though.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit different with Orton though, right? Because like Orton's got, the presence and the name factor. I don't know. Damian Priest comes across to me like right now as very just sort of cookie cutter babyface, right? Like I don't see much to the character right now. And ever now that all of his stuff is done with the Judgment Day, like they gotta do something with him. Like I like his feud with Drew is fine, and I'm glad, we'll talk about their segment backstage in a little bit, but it just seems like such a nothing sort of feud for both of them, right? Especially Drew, like the year that Drew had with CM Punk and everything else like that, and you're just kind of putting him into this sort of nothing match. if you will. I don't know.
The problem with that though is who else is there for Drew to feud with immediately on SmackDown?
Right.
I don't know if moving Drew to SmackDown was the right idea.
I guess. I mean, the only thing with Damian, like I said, I just don't know what else you can do with him. To be perfectly honest with you, I think he's reached, as much. This is as good as it's going to be for Damian, at least in the
He's
W.
hit his glass ceiling.
Yeah, I think he's hit the ceiling. I just don't know what else you can do. Once you took him out of Judgment Day, I mean, he hasn't really since he went up to WWE. He hasn't really grasped on anything as a singles competitor until he
I
got.
mean,
There.
they kept using him with like Bad Bunny and all that. So like
Mm-hmm.
anytime it was like the celebrity stuff or that kind of stuff, they used him. I'm assuming because they know what kind of worker he is. Um, so
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, you don't put him in that kind of situation, right? If you don't trust him completely, especially with somebody like the caliber of Bad Bunny, like forget the wrestling. I mean, Bad Bunny looked fine as a wrestler, but like the mainstream audience that knows him for his music, you have to put somebody in there with him that you completely trust to do the right thing and to like make Bad Bunny look like a star. So I mean, that speaks
Mm-hmm.
volumes for Priest for that, that aspect.
yeah,
Yeah, but I just don't know what else you can. I mean, other than that, what else can you do with him right now? I mean, unless he does a whole character change. Um, I mean, this is what you're going to get out of him, for the majority of his career, unless they
I
change
think
his character up.
I think he has more potential as a heel. Um, lean into that punishment kind of character he was in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, go that direction.
Mhm.
But outside of that, I don't. You're right. I don't know. I mean, as a face, I don't know that there's a whole lot else he can do.
And it is too. I mean, the roster is stacked too. So I just, what do you? I mean, if you put them in anything, you're just kind of cramming them in. That's why I'm a proponent. I agree with every wrestler. When you have a roster like this, once you get done with a main storyline, certain characters should take like a little hiatus just to get off
Oh yeah,
a little bit to allow their character, when they allow their character to develop a little bit, and you're wondering when they're coming back. When they do come back, you can just, you just kind of put them into another storyline that you didn't expect them to be in. I, I think that they should do that with Damien. Like take some time off of the camera for a little bit, a month or two, and then you bring them back or
there's no reason they can't give people like a month or two vacation every so often just to let their character like reset itself.
something. Mm-hmm.
Make what is the saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like
Yep.
take them off TV for a while. Then when they come back, people are excited to see them again.
Yep.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Um, yeah, so this quickly kind of devolved a little bit, and then, they all sort of went back, in which this set up a match between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, which happened a little bit later down the card. But our first matchup of the evening was the Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly. It was nice to see the Street Profits sort of defend their tag team titles, and they had a really, really nice Doomsday Blockbuster off the top rope on Hit Wilson to sort of finish the match. And Pretty Deadly solid. They're a good tag team. They looked, this whole thing looked good. It didn't really set up anything for WrestleMania. It was just kind of a payoff to, some storylines from last week. But overall a solid tag team match. And the only gripe I have with it is I just despise the cut and paste garbage music that they assigned to the Street Profits from, Microsoft Video Editor. But other than that, it was fine.
Uh,
They used the creator wrestler from the game to make their soundtrack.
yeah, they definitely got to work on the music. I mean, the music, there is nothing really memorable right now. In terms of new wrestlers, it's just nobody's music is catching on. And
Mhm.
that's one thing you say about Vince. He made sure they all had the music to match the character, and it. Like there's some wrestlers now, they can play their music. I'm like, I don't even know who that is. Who's coming out?
Like
Who's that?
I don't get it. They license all these songs to be like the theme songs for the events. Why not license some songs to use for people?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Get get like a Kendrick song for the Prophets, like something that would fit. You know what I mean?
Yep. And
Yeah.
they got the money to do it. They've done it before. I mean,
I mean,
CM Punk.
look at
CM
Punk.
Punk, he paid his on his own. Am I correct?
I believe to start, but then WWE had to pay to use it too.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the match goes, the tag team match, um, I liked the pop that Pretty Deadly got, being sort of uh, a hometown team. They definitely use some double team moves that are different from other teams, like that one where he did the code breaker off of the other guy's back was pretty original. Um, we all knew they weren't going to win, but I definitely give them credit. They remind me of a better, what was it, the Fashion Police with
Mm.
Tyler Breeze and Fandango. They remind me of a more skilled version of that.
Yeah.
You watch your mouth. That was a great tag team.
I didn't say they weren't. They just weren't the greatest in the ring. Outside of the ring, they were fantastic. But
I know
as far as ring,
their sketches and stuff are great.
oh yeah. Um, but as far as in ring work goes, I definitely think that Pretty Deadly can say yes, boy, to their ring work.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And like you guys said, it was a fine match. And the Street Profits are a fantastic tag team. They always look good when they're wrestling. And I think it's nice that you got a good amount of tag teams on SmackDown competing for that belt and just, overall looking good there. Um, so speaking of factions, I guess the next segment was a sort of a backstage segment with Zelina Vega and the Party Girls, and then kind of followed in by Chelsea's group, I guess, sort of speaking about what happened last week. And then this quickly led to a match between Katana Chance and Caden Carter versus Piper and Alba Fire, which are now called the Secret Hervis,
The
He.
Secret Hervis, which is the
Yeah.
dumbest name in the history of the world.
I had to watch that a couple of times to make sure that I was seeing that correctly, but yeah, yikes. I don't know where that name came from, but yeah.
Shame. Shame, shame, shame.
It's it's because they're playing Chelsea since she's the U.S. champion. She is their leader, like the president. She's a presidential Karen. Um, and so she has to have her secret Hervis to protect her. Um, I don't know. First off, everyone make sure to like, subscribe, hit that alarm button next to the title. As usual, any comments are appreciated. They will give us your ideas, give you some answers on what we think. Going back to the match, though, I mean, anytime I see the quote "Hardy Girls" in a match, I have a hard time believing they're ever going to win because both of them are 4 feet tall combined. Um, so like seeing them go up against Piper, who is like quadruple the size of them, it's hard to suspend belief on something like that. Um, I think this was more of a advancing the storyline between Chelsea and Zelina kind of thing. Especially with Zelina having to come out and attempt to make the save afterwards. She's been getting better in the ring, and I think she's going to be the one to take the title off of Chelsea.
I hope so.
Yeah, I can argue that one. It's just kind of weird watching them wrestling in those outfits. Like
Right?
the full on suit, and I'm just kind of like, mm.
Yeah.
Looks
It's
weird in a way,
awkward.
right? Looks uncomfortable watching. It's really uncomfortable.
Well, they don't have to worry about a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't mind them.
That's too funny. So yeah, and then during the middle of this, Roman Reigns was shown arriving to the arena. And then, yeah, to your point, I think that this is probably very likely going to be your WrestleMania program between Chelsea and Zelina, which I don't see any reason why Zelina shouldn't go over here. But yeah, it's fine. Fine little match. Piper and Alba Fire did pick up the win, and yeah, it's fine. I'm sure we'll see them all doing something there in the future. Maybe even the SmackDown before WrestleMania. Then this led us to our next match, which was from last week. Braun Strowman and LA Knight didn't really get too much time here, and we all kind of knew Jacob Fatu was going to interfere and cause the DQ. And I don't know which one of you guys mentioned this last week, but this very much seems like another multi-man match at WrestleMania.
Yep, and we called it. It's going to be a three-way match. I'm because we got so many of them in this WrestleMania. They got to add some sort of stipulations to some of these just to kind of break up the monotony. to watch another three, I don't even care. Throw a ladder, a table. I don't care. Make it a street fight. Do something to make it different than the other multi-man matches you got going.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but did Braun seem slower to you guys during that match?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Like you can see when he's about to do the locomotive thing, you see him just kind of taking a deep breath and just kind of like, okay, let me get myself going.
Which is unusual for him. For even being a big guy, usually he doesn't struggle like that. And it seemed like he was struggling during that match.
He's doing a lot of in and out of the ring, which for a big guy like that,
yeah,
a lot out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew going into it, like you said, that Fatu was going to interfere. I like that he didn't just focus on one guy and he beat down both guys. And I don't know. I think it's got to be at least the three of them in the match. I agree. It needs to be some sort of stipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Something, I don't know. I feel like the bloodline could potentially cost Fatu the match if it's a multi-man match with the way that it's going. But I don't know. Because it seems like there's dissension in the ranks there. I don't know if it'll be intentionally cost him the match, but like they go to interfere and he gets hit accidentally or something along those lines. Just something to further the story of him being fed up with the bloodline.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what you gain by keeping the belt on LA Knight at this point. I mean, I get it that he's over and the crowd likes him, but I mean, you gotta put something on Jacob like sooner rather than later. He's the biggest star of that group outside of Roman Reigns, right? And Jay, obviously, but I mean, he's a much bigger star than Solo and the Tongans and even Jimmy, right? Like, so you gotta blow that guy up.
Yeah, and you got to do something with him. I'm just interested in what direction they plan on going with him in the future. And what are they going to do with the rest of the bloodline? They're just going to release everybody, take them off camera, stick them down to NXT.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with the rest of the bloodline because they're still having them show up in some matches every so often. It's kind of like, you don't really have a place right now.
Yeah. I feel like Tonga Loa will probably be cut. Solo and Tama Tonga might be saved. I mean, as long as you don't feed Tama Tonga after midnight, you keep him away from water, he'll be safe. But I think that I feel like out of all of them, they're probably the safest of the extra two. But I could almost guarantee you that the next round of cuts we see Tonga Loa is a part of, especially if it's true that Hikuleo or whatever the heck his name is waiting in the wings somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they're all part of the Rock's, family though. So like, are they really going to cut any of those guys? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think the Rock would allow it, but
I mean, you could. I mean, if we're talking about what's best for business, this is the whole mantra his motto he's doing right now. So, I mean, it's possible. But I think some of those guys, like you could send them down to NXT, turn them into a trio down there.
Oh, for sure.
Another branch of the bloodline somewhere else in the WWE and just kind of because Solo was great in NXT.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where he did his best work.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see a problem sending them back down there with his cousins and just let them go.
I wouldn't mind WWE introducing a trios title of some sort.
Yeah, too many. They got to get rid of a belt then. I mean, that's too many belts. That's the problem with AEW. They got too many belts.
Yeah, true. Thinking about it, you're right.
You saturated with all those belts, now no match means anything.
Yeah, and I mean, how many trios do you even have? I guess like I don't want to shit all over your idea, but like some of the belts, like to Terrence's point, there are already too many belts. Like the tag team belts on Raw are worthless. The women's tag team belts are worthless, and like even the women's mid card belts, right? Like they all seem kind of like pointless.
I don't know. The women's tag team belts are at least defended more than the men's Raw belts.
I mean, that's true.
Because the women's tag belts at least travel between the shows.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, don't forget now the women matches I mean, unless it's certain women wrestling, they're not that popular. So you have to give something to make people stay and watch on TV. So
Right.
you know, and for us, it doesn't really matter to us. But there are people who want to, there's a belt on the line, a women's match. You're hoping people are going to want to watch that.
Yeah.
Speaking of women, especially since Stephanie McMahon created women, but I don't know. Did you guys hear that? Apparently, there's going to be another Evolution pay-per-view.
Thought I
Is
saw a
it?
commercial for that or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
yeah,
talk that they greenlit another all women's pay-per-view. So, I mean, maybe that gives you enough titles now to run an official all women's pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I remember the last one, and it was just okay. It wasn't,
The
like,
best part about it was they brought in some people from outside WWE.
yeah.
Oh, because they don't have enough women. They didn't have enough women to carry a whole 8 match
Hmm.
show like that. You know what I mean?
I was more shocked that Charlotte wasn't in every match.
Oh my, well, yeah, yeah. We'll talk about Charlotte in a minute, but yeah, that was something else. Um, yeah, our next segment then was a quick backstage segment with Jimmy Uso, just kind of carrying over, what happened on Raw, with Jackie Redmond, and then he was quickly, on his way to the ring, and where he was interrupted by Miz and Mello. Just kind of sort of a pointless thing, I guess, to sort of get Jimmy on the show. But I don't know, it really didn't do anything for me. Just kind of, having Jimmy wrestle the Miz in 2025. Like I don't really know what the hell we're doing with this like at all. I mean, I like Miz, he's fine. And Jimmy's gonna we kind of all agreed the other day that Jimmy's gonna get his ass kicked by Gunther on Monday. So like what are we doing? Like why is Jimmy wrestling the Miz on SmackDown?
Yeah, it
So
was a little weird. Definitely was a little weird. I didn't expect that one. I
Mhm.
mean, this wrestles very much anymore anyway.
Mhm.
It was almost like it was a filler. Like it was like a last minute change. Like
Yeah.
something happened where maybe they had one storyline they had written out ready to go, and then something changed in the end because it was just it seemed out of place.
Yeah.
so Miz is that guy that has slowly become the guy that they turn to when they need someone to look strong. So this was just a match to get Jimmy out there, make Big Jim look like he's not going to lose to a single chop from Gunther. Um, I think the best part about what Miz is doing lately could potentially be him and Mello becoming a tag team. I really like their name of Mello Don't Miz. I think that's a pretty entertaining tag team name. But yeah, this was just a cement that Jimmy might have a chance against Gunther, even though we all know he doesn't.
Mm.
Completely agree.
Actually, I give you just a little. Don't forget now. This has been Miz for the last maybe 7 8 years. Has been a push guy. He's
Yeah.
taken a big step back for a very long time. I mean, especially he's been doing his TV shows and stuff like that. He's just been a push guy. He took over for what's his face, his boy.
Morrison.
No,
R-Truth.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No, no, it's not your thing.
no, no. He's in TNA now. Blonde hair,
Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. That's what Dolph Ziggler was for a while. He
Yeah.
I
was
mean, they've given Miz, I think, everything they could, and he ran with what he could, and he did a good job. I mean, he's never going to be a top tier superstar, but he's been he was a decent champion. He was a great mid card champion, and now you know what? The guy has enough experience. If you need that, and he's willing to put people over and
mhm.
star in like the Marine 47 when it comes out,
Mhm.
okay. I'm
Mhm.
sure he's happy just to get a paycheck and keep playing that same role 16,000 times.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I
He's
mean, he gets
getting,
to go home to Maurice.
yeah, he's getting paid pretty comfortably to do this. So I mean, if you're him,
Exactly.
Yeah.
you save your body and you collect a paycheck.
I
Yeah.
mean, he had that awesome feud with Daniel Bryan right before Daniel Bryan left.
Hmm.
And I mean, so you can still occasionally get absolute barn burners out of the Miz with the right situation.
Oh
True.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy's
Actually,
fire on the mic too.
oh yeah, Miz is always fire on the mic. And I'll actually leave it to you guys to talk about the Naomi segment because I have to step away for 2 seconds because it looks like I have a dog that's going to go to the bathroom on the floor over here. So,
So I actually liked this Naomi segment. I'm not normally a Naomi fan because her character is kind of bland to me,
Hmm.
but I think the jealousy angle of it is probably the best way they could take this.
Oh,
My What makes me real curious is the way she kept name dropping Bianca and all that. I'm real curious whether or not she ends up interfering in the women's match, the triple threat, either
hmm.
trying to help Bianca or ends up trying to screw Bianca because she goes all what was that movie back in the day, like single white female, where she wanted to be her but couldn't be, and
Hmm.
so she tries to replace her.
Yeah. Well, actually, I thought they were going to go ahead and maybe, I mean, they could have Bianca and Naomi just be like, you know what, we've been here for a while, we didn't get the push and the welcome that you got, so you're the odd one out, and you can let her be a force against those two, and then you can bring
I don't know that that would work with
somebody else
Bianca
in
though.
the middle of it to help her out.
Yeah, I don't know that that would work with Bianca though, considering that Bianca pretty much is just the living embodiment of a push.
Hmm.
I mean, we talked about it on our Raw show. The woman is just their obsession with pushing her and not making any changes
Hmm.
is one of WWE's biggest mistakes. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a star in Bianca that could potentially be grow to be something even bigger. Yet
Hmm.
all you do is make her just another version of Charlotte.
Yeah, pretty much, because then you just kind of cram her in every title match.
Exactly. And don't have her have her lose a big match. Have somebody come out and cut her braid off. Have her go crazy when that happens. Like,
Yeah,
I
they
mean, have
definitely, the hair thing can go. I'm done with the
right.
hair.
I'm so sick of her using that thing as a weapon and never
Mhm.
being disqualified for it. Like, how is that not DQ worthy? You know what I
Because
mean?
it's the body part. That's why it's not a
She's
weapon.
literally whipping people.
It does, it's a body part. So, I mean, what rule says is that you can't use your hair to whip somebody.
Yeah. Put her in like a hair versus hair match or something and have her lose that braid, go crazy, and join Naomi on the dark side. But I think
They could do.
overall, I I like I said, I've never been a big Naomi fan. I absolutely hated the glow gimmick. Thought the glow gimmick was like the most obnoxious thing in the world.
Mm.
So her ditching that and getting this like darker look, I feel is actually something that has potential.
But
And
they got to.
I really liked that shirt made out of the caution tape. I thought that was kind
Yeah,
of cool.
yeah. I mean, I think they should go with dark. Get rid of the glow stuff. You know, bring in some darker tones on her, and just turn her into a bad guy. Even, I mean, even if you had her lead her own little crew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little faction to go up against all the women in WWE. They haven't really done much with her in years. I mean, especially when she left, came back. They still didn't even do anything with her before she left and after she came back. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
like they're lacking her on other women, and to help her push those guys.
Yeah.
Even as a champion, her championship run was incredibly bland.
Yep.
Like there was almost no personality to it.
Mm-hmm.
She seems
Which
like this is
is
like the
not all
first.
that great with Mike either. So I mean, that doesn't help.
Yeah. This seems like the first time that like she's elevated herself with her promo game and where I now would actually take her seriously as a title contender, right? Like beforehand, she just seemed kind of like cannon fodder, like she's gonna go in there, she'll put on a decent match, but she will lose. Now, like I think she could beat Jade if they had a match,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I think she could go in and beat Bianca, if say, assuming Bianca wins the title, right? I Naomi seems legitimate now, and I think that was the best promo she's cut in her career,
I
like
Mm-hmm.
agree.
like by a mile.
Yep.
No, it's
I
easier
actually
to
wrote
see.
I actually wrote that down in my notes that I thought that this was Naomi's best promo that I think she's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Well, and it helps. Like I said, it's easier to be a heel to be a bad guy than it really is to be a face.
Hmm.
I mean, with
Yeah.
face, you're very limited what you can do. In terms of being on the mic, you have to play off the heel.
Hmm.
So let her lead the conversation, and then the face continue the conversation. It's perfect.
Yeah. Um, Real quick after the Naomi promo, they had another vignette for whoever that was that's coming with the smoke and all that.
Yeah,
Are
we
you
know.
guys are you guys still thinking it's Aleister Black?
Yeah.
100%.
It didn't really look like him though, did it?
They didn't show him. They didn't show much. They showed smoke and kind of like a
It
silhouette, but
It's just it was
yeah,
it's a countdown. Like I mean,
mhm.
they
it
also
didn't look like his body type.
I don't know. Well, I
Well,
guess
he's been gone for a long time. We don't even know what he looks like anymore right now.
I mean, we saw him in AEW
Yeah, but that was like how many months ago?
3 or 4 months
a
ago.
couple months.
Like he hasn't been
Yeah,
on
Yeah,
I mean, that
TV
was
in
a while ago.
AEW in a minute.
We haven't seen him and what he looks like right now currently. He may have a whole new look for all we know.
true.
But we all know. I mean, the rumors are out there. It's not a secret. Everybody knows that he's coming back.
Yeah.
I just don't know who else it could be. Like it has to, if it weren't him. I mean, unless it's like Miro coming back with his I'm
Mm,
angry at God gimmick, and Lana at his side since they just renewed their vows and didn't get divorced again.
Oh, are they back together? Is that like a
Yeah,
thing officially?
they're officially back together. They renewed their vows like 2 weeks ago, and are splitting their time between the U.S. and Bulgaria.
Hmm.
that could be why she married him again. He's going back to WWE. She can get her shot again.
Yeah, could be a thing. Um, yeah, so we had after that, after Naomi, gave that her promo, we had a backstage segment with Jade talking to Nick Aldis, wanting to get her hands on Naomi, where she met in the hallway with BFAB and Michin, who was going to have a match with Charlotte Flair, which we'll talk about in a second. As Michin made her way out to the ring, she was quickly attacked by said Naomi, and both her and BFAB were kind of just sort of beaten down a little bit by Naomi, who Jade Cargill ran out for the save, sort of chased Naomi off. They didn't actually get their hands on one another. And then Jade proceeded to help BFAB to the back. And then Charlotte came out, made her entrance, and her and Jade had a quick little stare down before the match happened. And then obviously Charlotte wins, LOL. But I don't know. What did you guys think of this segment?
Yeah, I do like the fact they're lining up, uh, you know, Jade for her next, rivalry with Charlotte. I would love to see that. And
It's
Charlotte, I
coming.
mean, listen. It's an opportunity for them not to allow Charlotte to bury somebody.
Yeah.
Let Jade beat her straight up.
Yeah, but do they do that? I mean, I think that obviously I'm a big fan of Meechin. It's too bad that going in we all knew she had zero chance here. Um, that tease stare down of Jade versus Charlotte is I hate it, but has me even more leaning towards Charlotte, in fact, winning and Tiffany not pulling off an upset. But I don't know, like with the way they love to have Charlotte bury people, I I would hate to see Jade get buried again or like as fall victim to the Charlotte curse. Um, I will say though that Charlotte coming back from her injury with all the waist weight that she lost doesn't seem as intimidating to me as she used to.
Mm. Yeah,
She
she
looks
does have a
slow.
thinner frame.
Yeah,
Yeah, she looks slower in the ring a little bit. She's not as like menacing as she used to be. And I mean, she still puts the figure eight on well, but like it doesn't, I don't know, she's just not as intimidating to me as like she used to look. She looks slower.
yeah, I
Well,
agree.
when you're wrestling, every 8 months into a storyline and you disappear again, you have a lot of ring rust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure initially too. Like my initial thought going into this match after seeing like Michin get her ass kicked by Jay or by Naomi, I was kind of like, are they protecting Charlotte? Like, is Charlotte actually ready yet? Like, I know she was in the Rumble, but like, she's basically done no matches since the Rumble, right? Like, so is she actually ready? Like, is
yeah.
she ready to go for a match?
Because she squashed BFAB last week, and then this one wasn't quite a squash. I was expecting it to be
Yeah.
with the ambush beforehand, but it was a slight step above a squash.
Mm.
So neither of them were particularly high end matches.
No, no, you're right. I don't like I said. If I'm a woman wrestler, I'm going up against Charlotte. No way. No way, give me somebody else because I already know where this is headed. Once you
Yeah,
say you're going to be wrestling Charlotte, you're losing the match.
Yeah. Yeah, and that seems very likely with the way the WrestleMania match is going to go. Obviously, Charlotte picked up the win. We did have a interview segment with Tiffany Stratton back in the back there. I didn't much care for this. She basically said nothing. Like this
Mhm.
feud just is not
it.
doing it for me. Tiffany's gonna get crushed.
I think that Tiffany's promo segment at the end of the match was definitely came across better than last week's. It definitely felt more natural, even though, like you said, it doesn't matter. We all know that any smart person would bet on Charlotte dominating this match.
I don't know if she's going to dominate it. I think they're going to have a match, but it's just
They won't bury
every,
Tiffany. Like,
everyone will win the same way.
yeah, I don't I agree with you, Terrence. I don't think that they will bury Tiffany Stratton. I mean, she is the future of the women's division, 24 years old or 25 years old, but like, and she may capture it back, right? Like Charlotte may, may work with her, right, and do business with her and, put on a program where they have a trio of matches and Tiffany gets it back in the end, right? But I mean, for the way it's going to go initially, yeah, for sure. Charlotte's going to win 1,000%.
I mean, I don't know. This could be another 16-second match like Daniel Bryan and Sheamus.
Maybe.
I don't think it's going to be a 16-minute match. It would make no sense to do that to Stratton. You got to give her a full-on match with Charlotte. Um, I just can't. I just don't want to watch Charlotte again with a belt. It's just like, okay, dude, it's enough. I mean, at least your father had to spend 20 years, over 20 plus years in his career to get the number of belts he has and had to work for it. And WWE's just been handing them to her. Give her a belt, then she'll wrestle a few times on Raw or SmackDown, then disappear for another 8, 9 months. It's like, okay, what are we doing with Charlotte? I get it, Ric Flair's daughter, but there's no place for her right now in WWE. There really isn't. It's a younger generation, a different type of wrestling in the ring. And if you're just going to keep this same path of just letting her bury any and everybody or beat any and everybody she's in the ring with, you're just going to ruin all your other wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only reason Charlotte even has as many titles as she does is because of that 6 month period where her and Sasha Banks traded the title like every other week.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to be. I really think it's going to hurt the women's division on the main roster when you have two different versions of Charlotte holding both titles. I think that's just going to be bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I really hope that isn't the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I'm shocked they didn't throw her and turn this the Rhea match into a 4-way with Charlotte. I'm shocked at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. It's just that the build for this match has been poor. I mean, you didn't need to have Charlotte win the Royal Rumble to to get this. It's just like, I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know who else on that roster could have won the Royal Rumble, but like, my God, like, just do a better job. Like, what was it? The year that Charlotte fought Rhea and when Rhea won the belt for the first time, was that 2 years ago? That was the best match of night one. Like, that should have been the main event of night one, right?
Yep.
There, I mean, I know you had the big storyline with the Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Was it 2 years ago? WrestleMania 39. But that match between Charlotte and Rhea was awesome. Like, that
Oh
was
yeah.
awesome. That was one of the best matches of the weekend, and so I mean, she can do it, and Rhea can do it, but it's just like, I don't know. The story sucks, and I mean, maybe Charlotte is just going to end up being one of these people where, she's just remembered for her ring work and not her shit outside of the ring.
It blows my mind that somebody can be that good at their in-ring work, but be that like hated by the fans. Um, like part of me, did they mute the boos when she came out? Because it didn't seem like they were as loud as normal.
And I mean, the
Oh,
crowd was
they
good,
weren't here either.
but
I mean, if it was an American audience, you probably would have heard the boos. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if it would have been, you would have heard much different. I mean, she's going to have, it's WWE, another country. They're going to cheer everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a face or a heel. Everybody's going to get cheered.
Well, They should have been cheering everybody but Bianca.
No, yes, Bianca, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so this was fine. And then, quickly led us into our next matchup of the evening, which was from the main event or the opening segment of Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. This matchup went through two commercial breaks. It was very hard hitting match. Randy and Drew both hit a bunch of moves on each other, and the match ended when Kevin Owens came down the walkway and allowed Drew McIntyre to hit Randy Orton with the Claymore for the win. And then there were some post-match shenanigans, which we'll talk about in a second. But what did you guys think of this match, and what happened after the fact?
Might have been the best match of Raw and SmackDown this week. That was a good match. We don't really get that type of match that often on SmackDown, especially the duration of it went.
Mhm.
But you got two athletic big guys in the ring. It was a good match. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
It was, like you said, it was definitely a hard hitting match. It's real hard to get a bad match out of Drew McIntyre. And when you put Orton in that mix, who's another guy that is very rarely has a bad match, I would have been shocked if anything, we didn't get anything outside of how great this was.
Mm.
Um, I mean, the as far as being the best between both shows, yeah, I mean, I'd say this was probably better than Penta versus Breaker, but not by a whole lot. Both have in common that they were real hard hitting, both with guys that can know their stuff and can hit their moves real well. I mean, this is another one of those matches though where you went into it knowing that it was going to end in either a DQ or some sort of shenanigans because both are in feuds where everybody is interfering with each other. And just seeing Drew walk to the ring, the guy is the blueprint for what you want your male stars to look like. The
Oh, yeah.
dude is incredible. And then obviously Drew winning is a good choice, especially with it being Owens that interfered. That makes the most sense. I think that, and then with the post match shenanigans, people trying to both them trying to kill each other at the side of the ring, I think was pretty entertaining.
Oh yeah, and then that it's so obvious now, right? That punt is going to happen at WrestleMania. Like it is absolutely going to happen. He's 100% going to punt his freaking head off at WrestleMania. Like he has to,
Owens' head is going to end up at the Luxor.
right? They've been
Right
teasing
on the
that
top
for
of
like
it.
3 weeks.
Right on the top of it.
I don't know if we're going to see Owens hit another pile driver on anyone, especially with the way they've been selling that as such an injury making move. The only other thing I could see potentially is Mania being where Sami Zayn makes his return, and maybe he
Mm.
distracts Owens, allowing Orton to punt his head off.
Yeah.
All I know is that I hope we see an epic RKO first.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you're gonna get one. I think that the RKO will probably be what finishes the match. I think that the punt will likely happen after the fact, right? Like I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I feel like they could end it with the punt, but like he RKO's him and then he waits for him to sort of stumble up and then kicks his head off.
Yeah, could be cool. I'm looking forward to it. Then this led us into our last match of the evening before the main event, Jimmy Uso versus The Miz. Like we said before, I don't know what the hell this is doing in 2025, but it was kind of a nothing match. Jimmy Uso very quickly won with the frog splash, pinning The Miz. Nothing spectacular here. I think to what you guys said earlier, it was just to make, Jimmy look good for his match with Gunther on Monday, which is, gonna be fine, I guess. But yeah, so this was fine, but it probably should have been Mellow, I think, wrestling here
Mm.
instead of The Miz. But I don't know.
I'm fine with it being either of them. Don't forget too, we had that vignette 100% confirming Phoenix as coming.
Yeah.
Um, and they mentioned the Lucha Brothers going into this match, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, we got everything that we come to expect out of an Uso in this match. I mean, yet outside of the one saying yeet, you could probably just transplant one for the other at most times.
Mhm.
He did all his moves, he did his dives, his kicks, his everything. I really think this was just because you wanted him to be going into the Gunther squash match on a high note.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree 100% on that one. I think that you could have, you definitely, I never even thought about that. You would have got the exact same match out of Jay.
Oh yeah,
You know, the exact same kind of way. It would have made more sense to have Jay do that match, that type of a match before before the Gunther thing. But no, you're right. That's like I said, the Usos, they're fine. And, they're having their moment. But I mean, the Miz was. They told him, "Yeah, you guys are just sideshows. I mean, you guys aren't anybody. You're just getting your spot right now." Remember, Miz did the same thing to New Day. To
yeah.
Kofi when he's getting the belt. He said the same thing to him. You guys are just sideshows.
I I think that the Usos are another one that you could say have hit their ceiling.
Oh yeah, they've hit the ceiling a long time ago.
Um, Honestly, that's part of why I could see if WWE wasn't so big on their happy endings, I could see Gunther beating Jay. Because do they trust Jay to run with a title? And I mean, at that point, they're using Jimmy just as a side piece to this whole story. But like I said, I think the Usos are another one of those sets of superstars that have just reached the limit of their potential.
What are you going to do with Jimmy, though? Like, I mean, is he even going to be in a program at WrestleMania, or is he just going to come out and celebrate with Jay when Jay wins?
They, I feel like it just depends on what kind of multi-man matches there are. Like, I don't know if the U or was it the Intercontinental, the U.S. title, um, I could see that being more than just a three-way because there's been like even Jimmy was involved in that little run up for a couple like a week or two. So you put together like a six-man ladder match or something. We still have 3 weeks. That gives us enough time for them to do like qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
Put that together, then you get all these guys on the card. The way I look at it is the more people we see on the card, the more people get that WrestleMania paycheck, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we all know that within a month of Mania, we're going to start seeing people being let go.
You mean after WrestleMania?
Usually, what
Yeah,
they do.
Usually it's like after WrestleMania, right?
it's usually within the month after.
Yep.
I
And
mean,
right before they start doing the lottery too, they
yeah,
start
I
the
mean,
draft or whatever.
Jimmy's not going to get let go, but
No, but my point is more so just get as many people on there to get that paycheck as they can.
yeah, no,
I
you're right.
mean, this year might be a little weird considering they just let all those people go, what, a month ago? So I don't know that they'll do another round of it. Like when they cut Cedric Alexander and Baron Corbin and all them, he was probably the guy that shocked me the most that they cut, considering what a company guy he was and how willing he was to push and put over anybody they put in the ring with him.
Who, Corbin?
Yeah, but he was a Vince
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah,
Vince loved him to death.
he was a
Triple H liked him too from NXT though.
Yeah, but yeah, in NXT, but when he got to the main roster, it was just like they were just cramming him in everything.
I mean, look at how many years they protected his finisher.
Mm-hmm.
that was
It
all.
wasn't until Cena kicked out of it that anybody kicked out of it.
No,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it McIntyre at their WrestleMania match that was the first one to kick out of
Oh,
it?
it may have been McIntyre, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right, but that all I think to Terrence's point though, I mean, Vince was been gone what about a year and change now at this point, right?
Roughly.
Like because Vince was still technically around, and helping to decide how WrestleMania 39 ended. So that was barely a year ago, or what,
Mm-hmm.
almost 2 years ago now, right? So
Because we
like,
were worried about how those matches were going to end.
yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, Corbin has done next to nothing, in that time period, but obviously he's not even there anymore. So, um, and then we had before the main event, we had a quick backstage segment where Drew McIntyre was being interviewed by Jackie Redmond, and then he walked through a door to get smashed in the face by Timu Taker, Damian Priest, and we had another quick shot at AEW again. From Drew McIntyre after being put through a car window where he said, "It's real glass. It's real glass."
It's in my eye. So,
But
so my big question is, how long was Priest standing outside that door?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
and was he what did he get there and just stand there for 2 hours waiting for McIntyre to come through, and then he randomly power bombs a random dude through a table? Like where's the assault charges? Like,
that's
and
Now,
then I
that was
believe he also told him rest in peace right afterwards.
well, you knew at some point that night that he was going to show up somewhere. I thought he was going to do it during the match. It was cool they did it
Same,
after, but that was fun.
yeah. It let a little bit more of Priest's personality get out,
Mm.
and I think that is one of the parts that is they're lacking with his character that I think would actually help him get away from the Wish version of the Dead Man, and you let his personality out a little bit more. And
Mm.
I think he'd be the better for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, he needs a new. He definitely needs a new gimmick. He needs a different personality because, like I said, he's been the same guy no matter what he's done so far since he's been on the main roster.
Yeah,
They just
the
seem
art,
any different people.
like I like his move set. I mean, he comes across as a decent guy. His promos are usually pretty good. I mean, the guy's definitely got the talent for it. They're
Hmm.
obviously high on him with how long they let him hold the title for. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. So, yeah, so that was SmackDown overall. Good show, solid show. We definitely we're building towards a bunch of matches for WrestleMania. I mean, some of them are set in stone. Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, set in stone. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest set in stone. Obviously, both main events are now set in stone. We have the one women's title match set in stone here. Looks like we're going to be getting that at least a triple threat for the U.S. title, and then the other one on Raw as well for the IC title will probably be a multi-man match as well. So we've got about 8 or 9 matches lined up here for WrestleMania so far. So they're doing a good job building that up. We definitely need more from some of these feuds, but I don't know, guys. What's your final thoughts on SmackDown and on the road to WrestleMania?
I mean, to me, it was probably a B plus. Maybe like 3 stars. I'd give it out of 5. They could have did. I mean, again, it's only a 2 hour show too. That's what makes it kind of tough to compare it to Raw because it's almost like some of the stuff in there just are kind of like you got to kind of rush through. Where you got to kind of like we said with the whole situation of Miz wrestling
Yeah,
uh,
Jimmy.
uh, Jimmy. I mean, it was almost like they kind of pivot to that for no apparent reason.
Mhm.
And then he ended up wrestling in Miz, and I agree with you, Sean. He probably should have wrestled Carmelo.
yeah.
I mean, they could have probably did that, but overall, I mean, it was a decent show. I mean, and hopefully these next few weeks they start ramping things up. I mean, the Cena stuff. I mean, they really got to do something. I mean, we cannot continue this path of just them talking back and forth every week. John Cena not doing anything, just coming in the ring for the opening of the show, then he's gone for the day.
Yeah,
They got to do something else.
yeah. They got to get into fisticuffs or something like
That's
that.
going to probably be the now. That's the other main event for what night one. You think?
I don't know.
I'd rather see it as night two, but
It's hard to not have the title, right, be the main event of the second night, right?
That's true.
and
Like
John Cena.
yeah, I mean, how can you not? I mean, I get it, it's Roman Reigns and CM Punk, but like, how can you not have a title match be the main event of WrestleMania? I
Hmm.
mean, regardless of even if The Rock was in that other match, right? Like, how could your main, let's be honest, Cody's title is the main title. How could that title not be the main event of WrestleMania?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, exactly. Back, I want to say real quick to your point about Carmelo wrestling. I honestly think it might have been better that he didn't face Jimmy because Carmelo's been losing a lot lately too,
Hmm.
and I think that he can avoid taking another loss would be good for him.
Hmm.
Um, as far as the show itself goes, I think I'd give it probably a B plus, like you'd say, a 7 out of 10. Definitely more matches than we normally see on SmackDown, which was nice. Usually there's too much promo work and too much talking on SmackDown. Um, it's much like Mike said, it set in stone several of our feuds. It'd be nice to see a few more of them get ramped up because we definitely need probably a couple more matches for on the Mania card. The biggest thing that I didn't like was, like I said, I am not a fan of cut to black endings. So I definitely wasn't a big fan of, oh, that's not my favor, and then just end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that's just a personal thing though. But overall, not a bad show. Definitely better steps in the direction we need to be taking for this the now countdown to Mania at this point.
Yep, completely agree. Well, that's our episode, guys. Thanks so much for joining us for our podcast. We're gonna going forward, we're gonna split these up. We'll have one for Raw and one for SmackDown, and then we'll have some episodes throughout the week as well. Look out for those. Like and subscribe, and please leave your comments, down below in the YouTube chat, and look out for the rest of our videos. We're gonna put a few of them out for you guys this week, so we hope you enjoy. Thanks so much.